Welcome to the Startup Junkies podcast. My name is Davis McIntyre, and these are the stories of people who are afflicted to innovate and create the next great products and services to change lives, not only in America, but worldwide. In this week's episode, we are repurposing old recorded podcasts for this holiday season. In this episode, you'll hear from Jeff Amerine and Michael Eisman, a former startup junkie, who sit down with James Farmer, the founder of EasyBins, a company that aims to revolutionize the way we think about the grocery store. EasyBins is a unique delivery service that offers free delivery to any users who places their order before midnight, and it will be delivered by 6 a.m. the next day. So sit back, relax, be sure to check out EasyBins this holiday for any last-minute grocery needs. Be sure to like, subscribe, and check out Startup Junkies podcast weekly. Let's get into it.
This is Jeff Amerine. This is the Startup Junkies podcast. This is about those stories for the people that are afflicted with creating the next great products and services that are going to change lives, not just in America, but worldwide. We're going to tell the stories of the next great beer producer. We'll tell stories of new product and apparel makers. We're going to tell the stories of those people that don't accept the status quo and that want to make things better. Welcome to the Startup Junkies podcast.
And we are live for another episode of the Startup Junkies podcast. This is Michael Eisman.
And this is Jeff Amerine.
And today, James Farmer is joining us, who's the founder and CEO of EasyBins. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, could you start with kind of a thumbnail of what EasyBins is? And then we'd love to rewind the clocks and how you got started and what makes EasyBins better and different than everything else that's out there.
Yeah. Well, EasyBins is a grocery store, but it's a different type of grocery store because we only operate at night. And so when most other grocery stores are closed, we're open. We're open until midnight every night. And then anything you order from us is on your door by 6 a.m. the next morning. And we did that without any type of subscription fees, any type of order minimums, anything that was friction. We said, what's really good about grocery? How do we make it better? And we built a grocery store around that.
Wow. And ergo, the very clever name, EasyBins. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Versus hard bins, which wouldn't have been nearly as much fun.
Versus convenient bins.
There you go.
So there's a distinction. We could talk a little bit more about it. And what we talk about, there's a difference between convenience and easy.
Gotcha.
And it's easy bins, not convenience bins.
You want to make it mindless and something that people, if they want to make an order, they can just pick out the stuff they want and it shows up.
That's right. And easy, things that are easy, I use more of. Things that are convenient, I want to get away from.
Gotcha.
Therefore, make it convenient.
So I mean, there's other things like this rolling out, and you're trying to make it frictionless and whatnot. What is it about that? Why did you settle on that idea of you order it the day or the evening before and it shows up the next morning versus having sort of scheduled times when things can be delivered?
Okay, yeah. The scheduled time where things can be delivered is a really good model. That this is a really big market. Grocery is a huge market, right? So there's going to be lots of different things. There's not a solution. That part of the market seemed really crowded. Like the people who were going to nail it had nailed it, and didn't see really any way to. There was no real white space sitting there, and no way to create any type of competitive advantage. As that happened, and actually, we kind of want that to accelerate. Grocery delivery, the household penetration is very low. So the more that companies like Shipt and Instacart and Walmart delivery. Like we actually want those things to grow because we need household penetration to go up, and they're going to probably do that faster than we will, right? So we just didn't see much white space there, and that became very much an operational game where leverage and scale, which companies had already achieved, would demolish us, right? But that left this other space called the nighttime, and it said, what could we do, or how could we use the night, in some unique ways that would accomplish things that maybe people still want. So one of the key insights we started the company with was people like to shop for groceries at night. If you look at a traffic pattern of a store, it's going to be empty till about 6 o'clock, and then it starts getting really full, and then it goes empty around 10, right? It's not, our business would be less attractive if that were the opposite. Everybody went in the morning time. So people like to shop for groceries at night. And then the nighttime created this kind of like arbitrage opportunity for us to book in the days because you fall asleep, what feels like 10 seconds to you is really 8 hours. So while we don't call it anything like that an on-demand service, it feels very on-demand.
Right.
And then we, at the same time, we kind of eliminated some of the friction points of at scheduled time, things like that. But most importantly,
and you don't have minimums, right?
We have no minimum at all, right? Because we route and batch everything. From a business model, we're closer to UPS than we are Instacart, because and it's actually one of the places we got. It's a funny story. Like one of the places we got the idea for EasyBins was, I love aviation. Like I'm a total aviation buff, and like I have like these apps on my phone that track planes, and it's fascinating. If you get up, if you like look at the Memphis airport one night around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and you'll see it's just jam packed with planes. And so those guys are moving all the product at night. I mean, the skies are empty. It's easier to move them, right? And so we're much similar to that.
So are those Memphis planes? Are those all the FedEx and UPS planes?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's their hub.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's like jam packed at 2 o'clock, and the whole skies are empty. It's like this big yellow dot of all these planes. A lot of activity going on, and so that's essentially what we do. And then the big question before we started the company was like, is that valuable to the customer? Like if we put a bin on their door full of food in the morning, is that valuable to them? And that was a big unknown going into it that we wanted to we spent a lot of time validating that.
But your early traction that's proven to be something that people appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely.
They put an order in, they pick it up, they put it in the refrigerator or store it or whatever, and they're good to go.
Yes, they love the idea of there's nothing left for me to do, and then I just get it before I go. And we've done some things where we remind people so they don't forget, the chaos of the morning. And most of the orders that we get, most of our customers are ordering under $40 worth of product.
And you still make money if someone orders under $40 worth of product? Or is there...
It just depends where they live.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends where they live.
But start with, you're going everywhere in Washington County at this point, right?
Yeah, we started with all of Washington County until we needed to put a constraint in there.
Okay. Right.
Because it's easier to say all of Washington County and then solve for problems that exist versus put these constraints in there to anticipate potential problems. Like, let's solve the problem when it exists.
Gotcha.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it makes sense until you get those far out orders, and then it's a little bit more painful.
I mean, and when you look at your customer base now, are you noticing patterns of particular neighborhoods, particular locations? Is there a clustering of where most of the orders are coming from?
Oh yeah, you think a lot of times that people talk. It's so weird. I mean, they're not necessarily.
So it kind of goes. Does it go?
It goes
verbally viral in neighborhoods where it's like, oh, I did this and it was cool, and try it.
Yes, we will see. Like if we start in a neighborhood, then a couple nights later you go to another house in there, and it takes time. That's one of the big surprises of EasyBins, but that doesn't spread as fast as you might think. But it's odd, and part of it is just the youth of the company. There's nights when it's way more West Fayetteville, it's way more East and West. You definitely see that for sure.
And you guys aren't like delivering cases full of Keystone beer or anything?
No, we have a few categories we don't do, and that's one of them. Well, like
no medical marijuana yet.
No medical marijuana, no alcohol, no tobacco.
You don't want the ATF knocking on your door.
No,
yeah.
And
that would be a
really,
bad.
That would be very
visit.
bad.
Yeah.
No prescriptions, nothing behind the counter.
Yeah.
And we actually have to be careful with even OTC medication.
Yeah. Gotcha.
There's some regulations on that.
Absolutely. But the vast majority of stuff that people want is produce and all those other ready-to-eat type items. The true grocery.
Grocery consumables.
Yeah.
All the grocery and consumable products categories are what we focus on, from pet to, body wash. But the bulk of our business will be food.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Bulk of our business is food.
And the psychology of this, from a customer standpoint, if they don't have to walk through the parking lot of a Supercenter or a Kroger's or an Albertsons or wherever else and go in with all that, they're willing to pay for convenience or have the convenience because your pricing is competitive.
Yeah, we try to keep our pricing really competitive, way below Walgreens, below a traditional grocer, and above a discounter, like somewhere between those two. There's a caveat on that. Those are the in-store prices. So for most baskets, if you buy a $30 basket from us, it would be cheaper from us than most of the grocery delivery businesses. Because you don't have
the delivery fee
tacked
on, which is $7 to however many dollars.
They all do it differently, but service charges, tipping, delivery fee, that's all just, we just have a retail price.
It's simple.
Yeah, tax, you pay for tax. Keep
it simple.
Keep it very simple. People can understand simple.
So really, you didn't just like fall out of a UPS van or a FedEx van and come up with this idea. Talk about what your background was before that. Reel the clock back a little bit for us and tell us about your journey.
Yeah. In college or for school, I went to U of A and got my degree in accounting and then stayed around to get my master's because you have to do that. And my background's all accounting of all things. And I got my license and practiced public accounting for quite a while. Loved it on the audit side. Learned so much. I tell people, I think accounting is a great degree to get because it's really hard to learn on your own after school.
It's the language of business.
That's right.
If you're good at it, you understand exactly what you're looking at.
Yeah, there's other things that I can learn outside of school that are a little bit easier to pick up through trial and error, but trying to do debits and credits is a little bit harder, But it is a really powerful skill because you understand how the financial statements fit together and stuff.
Yeah, and if you've got that kind of deep experience in accounting, if you don't manage the expense side of your business well, there's really no excuse, right?
Yeah. It's kind of
that was a loaded question. Sorry.
I try to not think about the expense of our business too much.
No, I understand.
There actually is no excuse. Like our books are probably not as clean as they would think they would be for an accountant.
But you know what you're looking at is the point. A lot of entrepreneurs come to it without a background in accounting and finance, and it's a total freaking mystery to them. And then they realize somehow our operating cycle is not good, and we've got this big AR and
you understand the concept of a cash cycle.
Exactly.
And like how working capital and things like that.
Exactly.
And then I got a good friend gave me his job in consumer packaged goods when I was in my mid-20s, the late 20s, and spent time for up until I started EasyBins in consumer packaged goods, working with Walmart and Kroger. And then most recently was at a company called the Harvest Group and purchased part of it, 5-6 years ago, and had a great time. We built a great business. And we did some really fun things together. But that businesses eventually get to a point where multiple owners can kind of sometimes slow them down.
Sure.
And we just reached that point. And so left there. We sold everything to the third partner 2 years ago and then started EasyBins. When I left Harvest, I knew EasyBins was a little bit different iteration, but I really wanted to get closer to the customer. I really wanted to get into the B2C side of it and get closer to the actual execution and what was going on because I just felt like there was some white space there.
Well, you guys had the reputation at Harvest for building a great culture that attracted people and kept people. And it was one of the things where one of the best places to work in the area and all of that. And I think that being able to attract top talent is a key differentiator. How did that inform the approach that you took to EasyBins? What are those elements of building a great culture are you applying to what you're doing now?
I mean, I believe the statement that like the first couple people you hire are going to set your culture. And the culture of Harvest got set from the very beginning. It wasn't one of these things that said, as the company grew, now culture matters, let's do it.
Right.
We overinvested in culture. We brought in talent, we funded positions, and when I say overinvest, I don't mean we went to more team activities. I think building really good cultures is as much about empathy than anything else, and that takes a lot of effort. You can't buy that stuff, right?
No. And you can't. It can't be superficial or artificial, and it can't be marketing veneer. It's got to be. You got to really feel it.
No, yeah, absolutely. And so the part of it at EasyBins, we took a lot of time in building the company. Maybe too much time, but
I remember you were in here for part of it in the co-working space.
Yeah, we built it slowly.
Yeah,
and we took our time and learned some stuff. And I really believe the concept that like the first couple people you're going to hire are going to set the tone and the culture of the company, whether you want them to or not. And I didn't have good answers to like who would we hire, what kind of people would we hire, and so we let those things. We launched the business, started doing it, and let those things stabilize. I would always have this test for myself, which would say, if I put, X amount of money into the business today, who would I hire? And I would find that my answers were always changing. And so we didn't really start bringing on full-time people until that stabilized just a little bit.
Until you were certain.
Yeah.
You understood where the real talent demands were.
Yeah, and where the needs of the business were.
Yeah.
I mean, if we would have put a bunch of money in the company a year ago, we would have hired the exact wrong team. And I don't mean just like people. I mean like the personalities, but I mean like actually what they're doing.
Right.
Because until you let this thing like bake a little bit and understand what your needs are, it's really hard to get your arms around and be like, okay, now here's what I need to like really accelerate this thing and shape it. And projecting those things early on, I just was not easy for me.
How many deliveries have you actually done?
I'm not sure if I've done more or if Christy, my wife, has done more. The first 3 months of this business, we started EasyBins in August. And from August to September, it was just the two of us. I would pick, pack, and sort. She would go out and deliver orders. Sometimes I would deliver the orders. We'd go back and forth. And so for the first couple months, it was just the two of us. She did just as much as I did on this business and shaped it and created our logos, a lot of our sayings, made so much of EasyBins come to life. And so between the two of us, we've done easily over 1,000 deliveries. Now, who did more? I'm not sure.
When you were asking yourself the question of, if I was going to hire someone today, if I put in this money, who would I hire? Did that start to get a little bit more consistent on you to hire a driver?
Overdid, yeah. I got a little more tired too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't.
So you were like from midnight to 6 a.m. You were out there.
Yeah, just about every night.
Nights.
Yeah, just about every single night. And then eventually I got somebody to help me. But early on, you're at this place where like people helping you can slow you down.
Right.
And yeah, every night we ran out of my garage and I would, just wait for orders to come in and then go and pick and pack. And you work the different sorting methods and then you go deliver it. And it was really hard. It was great. Like I learned a ton but it was really hard too. It was really lonely for sure. I mean, I was used to like being the president of Harvest Group. This sounds like a sad story. It's not. It was a really good refining experience to like literally dropping groceries on people's door, all by choice, right? This is only by James's choice. And it felt really hard, but it felt really good too at the same time.
What was the meanest dog you ever ran into when you were doing
Man, I haven't run into too many mean dogs. I had a husband chase me.
Really?
Yeah, he thought I was robbing their house.
When really his wife had just ordered.
Yeah.
I was going to say, having dog bones don't help angry husbands out.
No,
right?
I haven't.
You could throw a dog a treat. What do you do in that case? Just hold your hands up and run like crazy?
Throw a couple bags of chips at him.
You make a note and we
throw
don't
him a
deliver
six-pack
there.
of beer and say, dude, it wasn't me.
We haven't run into too many dogs, actually, now that I think about it. Because remember, we're out there like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, I know. It is.
And we've really played around with delivery times a ton.
Sure.
When I was doing it, it would kind of be like all one shift, and you played this game of like when you would go in, when you wouldn't. But every night, man, and I'd go do the pickups. I had a high school kid help me do the pickups in the afternoon, and it was just kind of refining and what's working and what's not working, and what do people like, what do people not like. But it was. In hindsight, I wouldn't do that exactly the same way if I did it again, because there was a lot the business probably suffered because I would come home and go to bed. And then I had this day job of like, I'm trying to build EasyBins as a company. And then this night job is I'm running EasyBins. And those two things couldn't like coexist optimally.
Right.
Get a greater appreciation for the vagaries of being a vampire, I would imagine.
Yes, you do. Absolutely. Yeah. And to like sleep. And I went to the doctor's office one time. And I got sick. I've been sick more in the last 2 years than I've ever been in my life. And I went in there and they put me in the exam room and I fell asleep. And they came in and apologized for how long it was taking. I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I've been asleep for like an hour. Fell asleep in the Bed Bath & Beyond parking lot.
No.
Yeah, because you would get done and then I had to send out these text notifications and all these things, and I would just fall asleep in the parking lot.
Well, there's something to the circadian rhythms. And,
yes, absolutely.
And you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, just enough. Sometimes I make references. I'm like, do I need to draw a picture for you? Explain. But
they don't teach that anymore.
But the idea is, and military guys face it a lot, right? Because you have weird 3-section watches and weird hours and whatnot. And it's a real thing. It can really mess you up as far as yeah.
It
so
does.
I guess you learn some of that.
One of our competitive advantages is difficult to repeat business processes. And it's one of the little traps. There's a lot of traps of grocery.
You're doing stuff that initially that doesn't scale super well to be
No,
able to
not
sort
at
the
all.
model on.
Not at all.
Right.
I mean, I remember the night we did 3 orders, and I was like, how in the world are we going to do 4 orders? Last night we had all said and done like around over 50 orders, like 70 something stops last night.
Okay.
Some of those are pickups. And so you don't do things at scale at first, but you don't need to.
Right.
I mean, that's the
It's
point.
kind of like that you don't solve problems until it's a problem.
Yeah.
Like don't spend your energy there.
It's not an excuse not to plan.
Right.
But
I was going to use it
you
that
can.
way. Yeah.
It's not an excuse not to plan, but it is an excuse to not put constraints on the business until you need to put them. And so, anyway, the nighttime thing was very difficult, and repeating those business processes is challenging. I mean, there's just a lot of points where you can tap out, and you could try to. I mean, you could probably just like have somebody do all that stuff for you, but then you wouldn't, as the owner and the founder, you wouldn't have your arms around it. You wouldn't understand the levers of it, the way I can today.
Hey folks, Jeff Amorine here. Thanks again for tuning into the Startup Junkies podcast. Steve Blank, the father of modern entrepreneurship, recently called the book that Jeff Standrich and I wrote, Creating Startup Junkies, a must-read playbook for anyone who wants to kindle innovation and entrepreneurship in their community. This whole idea of building sustainable venture ecosystems in unexpected places gives you the tools, the techniques, and the inspiration to do what we've done in Northwest Arkansas and Central Arkansas in your neck of the woods. If you'd like to find out more, check out creatingstartupjunkies.com. Thanks again.
What's the vision? What's the vision for it? So you're going into a very interesting space that a lot of big players are looking at.
Yep.
What does winning look like for you in 5 years? What do you want it to be?
That's a good question. EasyBins is a platform. Grocery is very attractive because it's very big and it's very current, like it's very consumable. And so we had this business, this category, that the question from the very beginning of EasyBins was, what else could we do with that? If you built this supply chain and you built these relationships with people, there's a lot of other things you could bolt on, and I use that term kind of loosely, but other things you could do with that. The great thing is that grocery establishes basically this cost basis, this business model that then now you can do all this other stuff with. It's no different than, they're a little bit bigger than we are. But I heard the CEO, one of the founders of Uber the other day on CNBC.
They're just a little bigger.
They're just tiny. Like their market cap's a little bit bigger than ours.
I mean, profitability-wise,
Today.
you're above.
You're not losing nearly as much money as they are, though.
No,
I mean, they measure their losses in terms of billions.
Yeah, I think I heard the other
But
day.
they're going to make it. They lose money in every deal, but they assure us they're going to make it up in volume.
One day.
One day.
So they were asking him, it was a really good question. They were asking him about the difference between him and Lyft and where Lyft was versus them. And he was talking about how when they built Uber, they built it as a platform versus just a taxi service.
Right. It's not just rideshare.
Right. That's where you see Uber Freight today. You see Uber Eats and all those things. There's a lot that can be done with the night. EasyBins is a brand. Like our brand will always be about the nighttime, right? That's a place we've carved out.
Sure.
But it's once we get the platform a little more established, then there's other things you could do with it and use the night.
What do you do? So the world's largest retailer is aiming at this space as well, and they've got a little bit different approach. It's a $500 billion company. They've got essentially infinite capital to do this kind of stuff. How do you go to the white space or continue to make this kind of a blue ocean play rather than compete head on with those guys without giving away any of the special sauce? But what are your thoughts? How do you coexist in a space where they can do what they're inevitably going to try to do?
Do things they're not doing. And we don't, our competitors and who we go after, I mean, certainly from like a value proposition and like utility, we probably do compete that way. But when we look at our competitive space, the people, and this isn't just marketing hype, but the people we're going after and the proposition of EasyBins is we want to do things that help people eat at home more often. Our hero is the dinner table. Because great things happen around a dinner table. Like a family that eats together, research shows good things happen in the home. And so we're using delivery in our model as a way to at least let that happen. So our vision and who we go after is like, we're actually interested in people in the line at the fast food restaurant. And what can we do to make it easier so you eat at home more often?
Yeah.
Because the share of stomach of eating out versus eating home is going up. I think it just crossed 50%.
50% of meals are eaten out versus in the home.
Eating home, right. And that's just going like this. So what we try to do is like, let's target those people and find out things we can do, because they're going to target these people that are already Walmart, and other people will target, obviously, grocery customers already in there. We're not trying to convert people this way to that way. We're trying to grow the grocery category.
Interesting.
And so just do things they're not doing and reduce friction that makes it easy for the customer to not eat out.
And the customers are not necessarily super high income people. You're finding that it's an amazing dispersion of people at average incomes that are using it.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest surprises of it. Pleasant surprises, by the way. But like one of the biggest surprises is our customer base is much more representative of the population than, skewed towards the higher end of the population. And that kind of surprised us at first.
Means your total addressable market is much larger.
Oh, yeah.
You're getting to a much larger swath of income demographic.
I think there's a number of reasons for it, but people do. Food is one of the very few things that food is something we derive identity from. Mm-hmm. Like we have a relationship with food. We derive identity from it. It can be healthy. It can be unhealthy. Mm-hmm. And so it's not like my lawn. Like not the same way to derive identity about my lawn. So I get my lawn guy to come out there and cut my lawn.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But grocery has this, there's the relationship is just a little bit more complex, right? And so how you service these people can really matter. And if you're not careful, you can create some shame. Like people can be like, I feel really lazy. And I see this on Instagram a lot. I see people, because we're always looking at like other people's hashtags. They'll put a picture up of they get their groceries delivered, and they'll say, I don't normally do this. And what
there's something wrong with that.
Right, there's something wrong with it because they feel lazy. And it's like, what time is the housekeeper coming over? And one of the really subtle nuances that we noticed at the very beginning was like our customers wanted to tell everybody about using. They felt really smart. And the reason was because we were doing something for them they couldn't really do. Mm-hmm. And they were having a different relationship with this product versus, if you think about it, it wouldn't be that great if somebody's knocking on your door and it's like, here's all the things that I got for you that you didn't want to go do. It would be a little lazy. And if every time you ordered something from Amazon, they were knocking on your door, you'd probably do it a lot less often.
Yep.
And
that does kind of raise a question, though.
Yeah.
Since you brought up Amazon, it was obviously big news, all the porch pirates and the people stealing stuff off of people's porches. Your bins are pretty high profile. It's really cool looking blue bin, and it's got a nice cover on it, a good logo, all that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts about it? Is that something you've encountered yet, or is that something you anticipate will be a problem as you grow into other markets?
That is a question I get all the time.
Well, I'm glad I was in with the mass.
I'll give you a surprising
people
answer.
asking the obvious question.
No.
I'll work harder.
I'll give you a surprising answer. We have never had a bin stolen, full of product.
Right.
Maybe we've had some stolen, like when they're empty and stuff, but we've never had a customer's order stolen that we know of. Yeah, we've never had one stolen. If it happened, we'd be totally okay with it. We'd be totally okay with it because people stole food, meaning they were hungry,
right.
And we would just replace it immediately.
Gotcha.
We have like a crew that works in the mornings if there's mistakes and stuff, and we would just replace it immediately. We pay for it. And so as a company, our proposition is like, man, if people started stealing food from us, we're okay with that because they were hungry. These aren't TVs.
Right.
That means they were hungry. Maybe they were going to do something else with it, but we'll just say they were hungry, and that means they're going to eat, and maybe they walk in. Now, what has happened is we have people try to scam us. That does happen quite a bit.
As an example, how does that work?
Tell everybody how to scam you.
Well, you don't have to.
No. It's good. It's good. So part of the frictionless thing, and EasyBins is a new concept.
Right. And
so we don't buy groceries this way. House penetration low. So it's kind of the double whammy against us. Like we're going with a version 2 in a category that has super low household penetration.
Right.
So if anything, you could be too early, right? So we're always trying to just make it super simple, risk-free for our customer. So we created this thing called Pay Later, which means, we'll just invoice you in the morning. So you don't have to have a credit card to use EasyBins. You just go on there, type what you want, hit the Pay Later button. Your order will arrive the next morning. We invoice you, and then you pay, right? And that was for people that didn't have their credit card in bed, they didn't know it, or they just were like, okay, what's the catch? Yeah. Right? We wanted to put the power back in the customer's hand because that's really important in delivery. One When I pick up and I go in the store, I have the power as the customer. When you deliver it to my door, the power is kind of shifted a little bit, right? So we try to keep the power in their hand. And we had just happened recently actually, they're really smart. They would use that and they would start with really small orders, like $10, $15. We didn't catch it. We delivered to them. We invoiced them. We age our receivables and they would do a couple more and they built up a receivable balance of like $300 or $400. And then one night they placed three, $400, and $500 orders, all to different locations, all right before midnight, with that same function, like that pay later thing. And we kind of caught it. We caught it at that point because that was just a real anomaly.
Yeah.
And they were trying to scam us. So we found out that what they were doing was they were pulling on this product and they were taking it back and returning it at places so they could get a gift card. And so, unfortunately, we deactivated the pay later function.
I think you're probably better off.
Yeah, we didn't have many people.
Get money up front and just make sure your service is spot on, which it will be, and you'll be good.
But yeah, we do get people scamming us that way. And
might be fun to have members of the Razorback football team as your enforcers if people do.
That would be fun. That would be a lot of fun.
The next knock on the door they get is the not EasyBins.
Defensive lineman.
Yeah. Knock, knock, knock.
Yeah.
Hey, you scammed us, and guess what? We're here to hang out with you till you pay.
We have that, and then we have.
They already have that.
No, we don't have the Razorback people. We have the people scamming us that way, and then we just have the normal internet scam people too. Who are trying to get our passwords and because they just want to take our
cybersecurity is a big play, and
it's a real issue. It's really trying to get
redivert
our receivables to them.
But you're rolling out. I mean, the goal is to be in 50, 100, 200 cities nationwide.
We built the business. We started here, and even today we operate it from. This makes no sense in Fayetteville. This makes total sense in 10, 15, 20, 25, 35, 45 markets. And so we have positions, people on staff today that you would never hire early on. Like we have a director of culinary who does all of our recipe making, figures those things out.
That's the other sticky part of this. So there's other value. You're being helpful as part of the equation. It's not just we'll deliver whatever you want. It's like, hey, here's some cool recipes to think about.
Yes, recipes were this way that mom needs help in the kitchen, and families need help in the kitchen. The store, and maybe not, the friction points are just different, but what they're really asking for is help in the kitchen. And clearly that's validated. I mean, we can talk later about the issues of Blue Apron's business model, but it did validate, like, I want help in the kitchen, right? Unfortunately, a lot of those recipes on Pinterest and places like that are just difficult to make. They're very difficult to make, and we've made people think it needs to be fancy. And so we've built all these recipes from ordinary people. We find people in the community. We take them. We match them with they help us find the groceries for those items, and we put it up so anybody can make it. And mom can feel, or dad can feel special of just putting something regular on the table at night and eating it as a family. It doesn't have to be this 3-hour ordeal. It can be, that's great, but it could also be this really simple like crock pot thing.
Easy to put together.
Yeah. The challenge is in doing that, the challenge with some of these recipes is if you were going to make cheese quesadillas, okay, with guacamole, there are over 700 ways to come out of a store with the ingredients to make that. And that's very simple. So now I give you a recipe that has 5 or 6 ingredients, some of which you don't know, and are all in ounces, which necessarily is 16 ounces of green onions? Is that 1 bag? Is that 2? Is that
way
half?
Too much?
Who knows? So part of it is doing all the work on the front side to convert everything, so you just make it very simple to.
They know exactly what they need.
Yeah.
And you're getting stuff the right size and the right.
Yeah, it's all, and it's what that person uses to make it.
Sure.
And we've had a lot of success in doing that with people. We have a blogger here locally, Amanda Wilson, who she publishes a lot of health things. People love her food. It's like practical, good for you kind of stuff, right? She publishes it. We license her recipes from her and the ingredients because they don't want to just know about her, lettuce wraps. They want to know what type of turkey are you using. I feel better about that. So it's now we're letting them, our customer, feel like they're taking Amanda to the grocery store with them.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. And that works. That's a smaller piece of our business right now. but we sell them every single night. Every single night.
You know, it wouldn't occur to most people that the purpose is to improve the family living situation by making that experience of evening meal or lunch or whatever more of a social gathering like it used to be. I mean, in many ways, you're trying to get back to the traditional old school good things happen around the dinner table, as you said, with families.
That's right.
Rather than it being kind of like a drive-by where it's like eat in a hurry and everybody's watching TV or headphones in or whatever. I mean, that's part of...
Yeah, food is this magnet.
Right. Like, it's an experience.
It is. And it's this magnet that pulls people together. And the power is that we make the food special, not the other way around. I read a CEO, somebody out in California recently was like, food is family. And they were starting some of a food company. I said, no, I don't think that's true, really. Food is just this powerful magnet that pulls people together and creates something that can be really special. If you get together with your friends and you have dinner, sometimes you talk about how great the food is, but what's really special about that night is the friends being together. And that probably wouldn't change if there were chips and beans and chicken.
That's social interaction.
Yeah,
right.
It's an environment makes the food better.
It just pulls everything together. And half of the people that work for EasyBins, I don't think would work there if our business was something besides food.
Yeah.
And so it's this powerful magnet that we like to just give to more people.
Yeah. So I've got I guess, more higher level question about habit change and how you think about that. Because people develop habits around grocery shopping, and this is changing a normal habit that may have been reinforced over 20 years. Also, you're fighting against a trend of people leaving the dining room table and going to, like you said, we're about to surpass 50% of meals eaten outside of the home. So what's your perspective on habit change? How do you identify those and change them? Or how are you thinking about that as you are essentially taking on pretty well reinforced habits?
It's very difficult. Changing behavior is very hard. And then changing behavior with like new, that's difficult to understand. It's not like, hey, my widget's better than this widget. It is change habit with this new widget that you don't even understand. I got to explain it to you, right?
Right.
And you're probably going to be skeptical. Like, what's the catch? A lot of patience. I think it takes a lot of time and patience. And then remove all friction. Like you just have to keep on removing friction. Like what in this process is difficult for our customer? Where could they get hung up? What would stop them from using us or trying us in any way, shape, or form? And then we just help people, just show them some of the possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, I love that approach because something that Guy Kawasaki said in The Art of the Star way back there, kind of an old reference, was never ask people to do something you wouldn't do yourself. And so if it is a behavior change, it's got to be something where you're not asking them to do some kind of unnatural act. And this is real easy.
Yeah, but it is unnatural.
It is.
It is unnatural.
It is, but it's not. Well, in a way, it's like every other thing we can do today. If you want something done, if you want Amazon Prime, it's right there on your phone or right there on your computer screen. So that is a behavior you don't have to change. The point is you now don't have to fight a bunch of people you really don't want to see through the parking lot of your major big box grocer to get what you want. You don't have to worry about a parking spot. And the other thing is that I think is pretty clever is your pricing is very competitive. And I don't have to think about the delivery fee or a minimum. I mean, that was how you make those economics work. I think it would be real interesting as you scale if you can maintain those margins. But that's a clever aspect of it, I think.
Yeah, it's as much of the behavior piece is challenging, but it's as much breaking through the noise as it is breaking through the routine. There is less and less routine for people these days, but in fact, things that break routine sometimes started. Like last Friday night, we had a really slow night, and it's because of the Razorback game. When the Super Bowl's on, like that's going to hurt our volume because people come home later, so we're going to have less orders, so on and so forth. It doesn't just all compress into this shorter period of time. And so we see things like any normalcy that breaks impacts our business. And then getting people, we also understand our customers and like have people we want to go after. There's a lot of people who have a lot of control over their groceries and want to have control over them. And we don't target those people. Like we can create no value for them. We're not going to be helpful for them. It feels like we're taking away something. versus people
it's like feeling the avocado is the best part of grocery shopping because I get to know exactly how ripe it is.
Yeah.
That's not a good customer for you but if it's someone who, is that right? Is that what you're saying?
It's essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
The avocado we actually sell two ways.
Okay. Oh, no way.
Yeah,
So
we
I
sell.
picked the wrong detail.
Yeah, we actually sell avocados ready to eat and not ready to eat.
Okay.
And bananas too, I noticed.
Bananas that way
Not
too.
ready.
Yeah. We should sell more. Like sweet potatoes, you can sell if you're going to slice them versus bake them. What you're going to do with them, there's different types. Fresh is really hard, first of all, but we sell them both those ways. But yeah, people who just like the act of actually going to the grocery store.
So someone who really enjoys that experience
Yes.
wouldn't be a good EasyBins customer.
You know what they are, though? They're a great EasyBins provider.
Yeah.
Well, like people provide us recipes. And so some of our greatest recipe providers don't ever use EasyBins at all because they're great recipe providers.
But they want to share though.
Yes,
They think it's
and they
cool
have-
because it's an audience they
That's
can
right.
get to.
That's right. And they have this routine that they order and they do this thing. And
So we're in this town of 28,000 college students and a lot of density and a lot of concentration. Are college students, are they becoming your customers? Do you want them to be their customers? Does it make sense?
I don't
to go
know.
after
That's a good question. I don't have a good answer to it yet. Only because we don't know. There's part of it, like obviously you have this installed base right here. It seems like it'd be a no-brainer.
It seems like it.
Yep. They're dense.
Right.
They're dense.
Not dense isn't dumb. There's just a
No,
lot
dense,
of them.
like, sorry, densely populated. They're not in the middle. Like there's a lot of them together.
Right.
Not dense that way.
Some of them.
But they also change every 4 years. So
Right.
you have to, they're going to leave town. They're going to come
rotate
back.
through, yeah.
There's some noise. More so I don't know about the college student. Here's what I do know though. We do like college towns a lot.
Right.
Because of the receptiveness to new tends to be a little bit higher in those towns.
Interesting.
And one of the things we look at as we start looking at our cities, we look a lot at not just demographic data, but some of the changes in that demographic data. Because we don't want to just see population growth. We want to see like turnover in the like people are used to new in this town. If you've got this town of you got two towns, one's got 80,000, the other one's got 80,000. But this one is just basically stagnant, and this one's changing over. Like we're going over here just because people will be more open to new.
They'll be open to new
Yeah.
and change and whatnot.
Yeah.
Are you learning anything, or is there anything you'd be willing to share about the average or the mean age of your customer? Is there something? Do they tend to be younger, or is it? What do you know about that? And probably more female than male.
Oh yeah, our customer is 95% female.
Jeff ordered.
And we have
I
one.
did.
We have
But
one.
We went up to 94% female now.
Okay.
Our customer definitely skews older. Like I say older, like plus 27 on.
Okay.
We don't have a ton of college students. The other thing with college students they tend to be in apartments, which are really, really tricky. Really tricky. You can make a lot of mistakes there.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
And when we started delivering to apartments, it made a lot of sense when, if you remember, 2 years ago, Walmart purchased that company in New York.
Jet.
No, the Parcel.
Okay.
And that guy had gone out and mapped, if I understand it correctly, where all the delivery entrances were of every building in Manhattan. And as we started doing EasyBins, is like, I understand why they did that now. Because that would be really complicated to figure out, right?
Yep.
Apartment buildings are the same way. They're so freaking difficult. They all have different numbers. They're hard to find. Some apartment buildings have like 32 apartment ones. Some don't.
Wow.
So anyway, the college students kind of an unanswered question. We don't have a ton of them. We don't see they're probably less than 20% of our volume today.
Gotcha.
We go after the families and surprisingly more elderly. 25%ish of our customers are probably shut in, and
65 and older.
65, and we
they're
don't get their exact age.
They're tech savvy enough that they can figure it out and they can do it. And for them, it's great because they don't have to be on the roads.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I mean, they love it.
I could see that.
And they order all the time, and they're really good customers. And they'll call too. I mean, we have people who call us and place an order on the phone.
Really? I didn't even know that was an option.
Well, we
Jeff's going to start calling more.
Yeah.
we should edit that part
That's
out.
awesome.
We're not looking to build that side of the business.
James, what do you got that's on special? Hey, how are those avocados looking? The green bananas?
It's interesting you say that because One of the real undefined parts that is we're working on, I think everybody works on, but is how do you groceries are promotable business? Mm-hmm. Well, okay, how do you promote online? You don't just run the same plays. We've tried promoting on price, tried doing BOGOs. It just doesn't work. Mm-hmm. It doesn't. You don't get the same type of response you would see in store. When we do, so we brought Burtons Creamery. You know Burtons Creamery?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we started doing Burtons Creamery. The night we did that, we ran a promotion. Burtons has come in. We've kind of both posted about it. We had one of our biggest nights ever. And so the concept of like all of our groceries, right? We sold some Burtons, but we sold a ton of groceries. And so
you were delivering Burton's ice cream?
Yeah, we sell those popsicles.
The popsicles, okay.
Yeah,
Because I was going to say, that would be hell to deliver one of those ice cream cones.
Yeah, no.
You'd have to be really quick.
No, you don't. We don't deliver the ice cream cone, just the popsicle. But it's a promotional play for us.
Gotcha.
I mean, one, we're looking to extend his distribution.
And brand association is good for you, right?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But it promoted our business, promoted our core business at the same time. And so how you promote grocery online, it just doesn't work exactly the same. We've tried some of the BOGOs and stuff like that. People don't respond. How do you do those things is different. That's what recipes. I mean, that's why recipes, we love them. It builds the basket.
And that makes it sticky. And then all of a sudden as they go through the recipe, you're increasing that order size for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's why we like the recipes. Our average order volume goes way up on those.
Very cool.
Yeah, it is. We've got one more question for you, but where can people find you? And before the last one, where can people find you if they want to order?
So we're on easybins.com. Mm-hmm. You just go there and start clicking away.
And it's spelled just like it sounds. It's
EASYBINS.com.
Got it.
And that's pretty easy.
Super easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super easy website. It's not fancy.
It's the easiest easy bin.
There's I think we have just shy of 10,000 items.
You can go in there, fill up a shopping cart.
You fill a shopping cart and then you check out. People can text us. We have a textable number and you get a little receipt after you check out and you can add stuff. And we have people, sometimes they can't find things or just really one-off stuff that we always try to add it on the spot. We have somebody who mans customer service at night and they'll add items for people. Or if people forget, they submit an order in the daytime like, oh, I forgot we needed batteries. They just text us, can you add batteries to my order? Whammo, done.
Oh, that's very
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
So as you rewind the clock to starting EasyBins, you've now worked in the business and on the business for quite a while, a lot of hours. What's one piece of advice, one thing that you would like day one James to know? What advice?
Knowing what you know now.
Mm-hmm.
Did I want day one James to know?
Yeah. So
if
you knew then what you know now, what advice would you give yourself?
Probably two things. One, maybe three. The things you worry about are the wrong things. And the things you're not worrying about are probably the right things. You can't see them. Mm-hmm. And so the second thing I would tell him is he's got to create more space between him and the business. As you know, there's like this entrepreneurial trap. And you've got to create space between you and the business, not just with your identity and who you are and what you do are two different things, but just create some space to see some things you wouldn't otherwise see. I would tell day one James, like, maintain space with the business and keep that. That's going to be really hard to do.
Meaning that maintaining space is you're able to be a consultant to the business in a way, and that you can be objective, and not fall in love with your concepts or your specific ideas.
That's right. It was not good that I didn't sleep for 3 days. And
did you have hallucinations and stuff?
No, I never got to the hallucination phase.
That's the fun part of sleep deprivation.
But you can't see things. You just can't see things. And the more, anytime there's something difficult in front of you, if you can just put some space between you and that thing, then you can handle it. Right. In ways that you couldn't handle it before. So I would tell James that for sure. And the worry is real, but the things you think you should be worrying about, like, those aren't going to happen. Those aren't going to happen.
Gotcha.
And buckle up.
That's great.
It's a ride. It's like people ask me what it's like starting EasyBins. I tell them all the time, it's like yoga. Like, you just get in there, you're like, oh my gosh, this hurts. This feels good. This is hard. This is good. I thought I was strong. like, wow, it's just, trying to be an entrepreneur just pushes you in some ways that you're like, wow, I didn't even know there was a muscle there.
Yeah.
How is this possible? But it's good. It's like good at the same time.
It's a cathartic kind of pain, huh?
I thought it was more like the carnival. I was understanding that entrepreneurship was more like the carnival. And then I get in there and it's more like the yoga class. Like, what the heck? But it's worth it. I would also tell them it's worth it.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks for coming on, James.
Yeah,
Thank you guys.
yoga. This has been the Startup Junkies podcast. Thank you for listening. Please rate us on iTunes if you enjoyed the show, because that definitely helps. And tune in next week for more stories of the startup founders of today and tomorrow.
This episode is brought to you in part by Wright Lindsay Jennings. The Wright Lindsay Jennings Tech Law Team serves a diverse group of tech-focused startups and established businesses, from corporate formation and investors to intellectual property and employment law. Learn more at WLJ.com. .com.